Welcome to the Get Offset podcast. My name is Andrew.
And my name is Emily.
And, woo!
I have a big old mug of coffee. This is actually a beer mug.
I have probably something I shouldn't be drinking, but I am anyways.
Oh, boy.
And I'm scared to, I should probably actually look and see how much caffeine's in this.
Mm-hmm. I know there's lots of caffeine in this. I'm drinking my Rainier beer mug of coffee. Got my upper left USA shirt, my Hattie's hat. Hattie's hat. That's where we met for the first time.
Well, that is, this is only 160 milligrams per can. That's like 3 cups of coffee. That's not bad.
Yeah. McDonald's but it is coffee, maybe.
It's like the closest thing I'm ever going to get to cocaine. So I had to do my...
Just play more live shows and who knows what's going to happen.
Oh, my power just flickered.
Okay, that wasn't my
No, that wasn't your imagination. The power just went...
It's not even windy.
No, but we had the other night, we were watching TV, and so I was just like sitting on my couch, and I noticed at the window that there was just like a cop car just chilling in front of my house with some flares in front of it. I'm like, okay, what happened? Why are there and I look close in across the street, there's also another cruiser with a couple flares in front of it.
In the church? Burning.
No, like farther down the street across the intersection that I live near. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And I just threw on my Birkenstocks and walked outside in the freezing cold and in my pajamas. And I just walked out there. I'm like looking like, I don't understand why they're here. I don't get it. And so I was like, hey, officer, could you, I'm just curious, I live right here. Do you guys know what's going on? Like, why are you guys here? Like, the power's out. And I look literally across the street. The other side of the street, the entire block, just black. I'm like, oh, the street light, the intersection was all out. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to enjoying the fact that I have power, and I'm going to keep watching my TV.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
it was
you.
Mandalorian night.
Oh, you would have been so sad.
I would have been devastated, just in the middle of the episode, just like, no!
You could pull it up on your phone, though, right?
I mean, I could, but that's not the same cinematic experience. I wouldn't have been able to notice the stagehands that got slipped into the frame.
So some stagehands ended up in frame?
One dude did, yeah. One of the scenes that they're in a hallway, corridor T intersection, like this, and so the characters are all standing right about here, and cameras are here, and just on the other side of the T intersection, you could see a polo shirt tucked into some jeans and a big watch on the dude's hand, just standing there.
Was he wearing production black at least?
No.
Ooh, that's
which means he probably wasn't. He probably wasn't a hand. He was probably a cam op or something. But yeah, the internet has blown up on that, and I'm really enjoying that. Anyways, I would have lost my mind if the power had gone out, and I'm suddenly freaked out that it's going to happen on this side of the block this morning for no discernible reason. But that's a huge tangent.
For balance. Yeah, then I would just have to do the podcast on my own. I'm good. I, have gotten back on that demo train. So I released the normal number of demos last week and released a normal number of demos this week, including this will come out tomorrow.
Yes.
This is the Empress Effects Compressor Mark II in blue that I am
with a nice
showing.
Orange stripe. I feel compelled to point out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's got a nice orange stripe. It has 3 different compression ratios, a side chain high pass filter that's helps bassists not get over compressed.
Yep.
I had a lot of fun with this. It's definitely a compressor is a make gooder kind of pedal, isn't it? It just makes things sound a little sweeter, a little more present, I think, even.
It definitely has that potential. Also, has the potential to suck all of the life out of your tone.
I mean, yes, if you really overcompress it, but
well, sure, which can be fun sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, like it's fun to like overcompress and just get that kind of spanky thing going on. I've been using chicken picking, which I'm terrible at.
Well, you should get a book. That's what I did.
Yeah, I've got a chicken picking tutorial called Finger Stuff. It's a neat little book.
You're saying that because I said finger stuff. I said let's start with some finger stuff in the demo.
You did, and I don't think you're ever going to live that down.
I shouldn't. I should have heard it. I didn't hear it, and then I was editing it, and I hear myself say, "And let's start with some finger stuff," and I was like, "Oh, that's gonna be great to navigate." Yep. I already have guys leaving comments about the name. Yeah. I said, I got a big old box in one demo because I was unboxing a guitar, and someone commented, Emily's got a big old box. I was like, yeah, I should have thought about that one. But it makes me feel better knowing that like people like dudes like Ryan Burke get similar comments.
So. I mean, that's true, but let's be honest, Ryan Burke literally got shirtless on camera.
Yeah, I'm never going to do that.
And yeah, I commend him for it in a strange way. Like I don't judge him for it.
Well, he was putting your shirt on, so
he was putting my shirt on. So I have my own personal interests in mind in being kind. But yeah, no, he got shirtless and said, "Please don't make a meme out of this," which really means just please make a meme out of this. And I've been. Yeah. I don't have the time to actually edit this myself because I'm terrible at editing, but part of me is like, I don't know, maybe I could grab that clip and just put it up on Fiverr and say, can someone make this a GIF and pixelate out his entire torso when he takes his shirt off? Because that would make that'd make a great GIF. He's just like wearing whatever shirt. He's like, whoop, pixelate and then bring it back on and have this shirt. And
wow, I can't believe Ryan has such an obscene tattoo on his full chest.
Yeah, wings are supposed to go on the back. Did anyone tell him that?
Especially phallic wings like that.
Nope, not going to ask that question.
Instead of feathers, it's little penises. That's what I was going with it. Okay. Sorry.
I mean, I could see that.
I might edit that out.
No, that's the new merch. That's going to be the new merch ideas. I'm going to design that, make that the back graphic, and just on the front, like it's got to be a pocket. It'll just say finger stuff.
No.
That's the whole shirt idea. Selling
Andrew's really proud of himself. I'm still
$69 plus shipping and tax.
You know what? Fine, sell it. I need money.
I don't need money that bad.
Wow. Throw me under the bus. But you want to talk about
plenty of people I'd like to throw under the bus today.
You want to talk about some new stuff though?
Yeah, let's talk about new stuff. You have all of my new stuff.
I have all of Andrew's new stuff. They're back in the boxes, but I have my copies.
She's got the box. There you go. So.
Yeah, I have the Time Shadow and the Chase Bliss Factory. And I filmed a fun little thing that was Andrew's idea yesterday, which was that I took my Matthews Effects Alchemist, which is a signal splitter, among other things, and I've split my guitar signal into left and right. Mm-hmm. So one side was Andrew's Bliss Factory and Andrew's Time Shadow, and the other side was my Bliss Factory and my Time Shadow, and then I put them into my Strymon Iridium and ran them in stereo. It was pretty fun.
I would enjoy the heck out of that.
It was really great, but the one thing that did make obvious to me is I really wish the Earthquaker side had a blend knob. Like I would love to be able to mix clean signal in, because when I was running it in stereo like that. At one point, I had this, and then the other side was just the dry signal. I was like, that's really, really nice, and I like that a lot more. So it did leave me wanting with this pedal, which was a drag.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I like it without the dry on guitar, doing some lead stuff, like some chicken picking. Not really chicken picking, but just some like kind of slow meandering ambient lead kind of work. I was really enjoying the Death by Audio side.
Yeah, I like that
algorithm
side a lot.
on that, and I could just it doesn't necessarily have that full like I'm just like that bedroom tone kind of thing where I'm just enjoying it and you feel the full attack and response and all of that. It doesn't necessarily have that, but contextually in a song, I could totally see like during like a break, like like a break in between verses or whatever, just like that super foreboding, moody kind of sound just floating around in the background. I could see that sitting really nicely in a mix.
Oh, totally. I can imagine how I would use that in my band setting.
Yeah, it's really solid. I think the other thing that I want to try is when I get that back from you, one of the first things I want to try is bass on the Earthquaker side. I could see that being bass. If I could get the envelope filter dialed in just right for bass, that could just be some like really sick auto swell kind of stuff.
I'm sorry, was that distracting?
Well, no, it'll a little bit distracting. So it's distracting because Melissa just started the coffee maker over here, just off camera, and then I heard you pouring. I'm hearing so much pouring going on right now. It's ridiculous. Anyways,
it's pouring. It's raining. It's pouring.
Isn't that what the Morton Salt Girl says?
It's raining. It's pouring.
Okay, I need to get a new one of these.
Did you get that one off of Amazon for $15? It
was like $15 like several years ago.
It's probably something you can tighten. I see a little part right there. Andrew's this is riveting. Andrew's microphone boom is loosey goosey.
I forgot.
And I fixed it from afar.
You did. And there we go. That feels a lot better because I feel like I'm trying to talk down, even though I know like the polar pattern was doing just fine. This just feels like I'm staring at it. Anyways.
So, what's new with you other than the things that I have?
The things that you have are what's new with me. They arrived on Monday, and I was super excited about. I in the middle of a conference call, ran out to the front door, grabbed it, brought it back in, and unwrapped it on my desk. Was super excited, and I got to experience like the pedals are still like ice cold coming off the truck. I was very excited, and I set them right here, and then I had to get back to work. I figured I'll get to it later, you know? Yeah, I didn't plug them until Thursday. I just had that kind of week.
Yeah, no, I know that kind of week. Like I have things I got weeks ago that I still haven't played because I got them and then life took off. So I'm really looking forward to not going anywhere else for Thanksgiving and Black Friday because I'm just gonna catch up on the things that I actually like to do. Which, you know, I was talking about that video. I'm gonna release it on Friday where I run it in hard panning stereo. And what was I gonna say about that? Oh yeah, it was the most fun I've had filming a video in a very long time. And I think it really was kind of what I needed to get past some sort of like burnout fatigue I've been feeling. And also just like doing a couple of them and kind of low pressure, keep them a little bit shorter, keep the editing time down. Made me feel a little like, oh yeah, that's right. This is fun, and this is not like a huge pain in the ass to do. Like I think every time I like reset up or refigure my office, I get like those feelings of like, now I gotta like refigure out my demo setup, and that's gonna be work. And then you just do the work, and you're like, that wasn't bad. Why was I being such a baby?
Sure.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the Bliss Factory? Because we just talked about the EQD one. Personally, I'm in love with the Time Shadows, the Earthquaker Death by Audio collaboration. I'm never getting rid of that. I've
already sold mine to one of our patrons.
Aw. Part of me wants a second one because now I want one for bass and my electric board. I think it's going to kick off my organizer for now on my electric board.
Well, I'll tell you who bought it, and then you can debate with them.
Oh, that reminds me. Sorry. I asked you a question. And I know I'm going to delay here for a second, fine. Even though you've got an answer. As far as the blend, because my electric board's wired up for
wet, dry, wet.
Yeah, wet, dry, or wet, dry, wet. The place in the chain that it would be stepping into if I replace the organizer on it is after the split, and so I could still do a wet, dry very easily.
Yeah.
So definitely thinking that could be fun to give a whirl.
Yeah, totally. No, I agree. I think that would be a good way to use it. I love it. I really like the Bliss Factory. And I didn't play with it a lot, and I don't really know where in the music I make I would use it. But I do know I had a ton of fun playing it. So, yeah, I don't know. It was very inspiring, I thought.
I am feeling the full weight of having to eat my shirt. Not this one. I the other shirt that I already ate.
Because when you were like, "Oh, it's just a fuzz factory," I'm gonna.
I was like, "It's just a fuzz factory," and I feel so dumb for saying that. Like, I really genuinely like. I plugged in, and part of me is like, maybe it's not going to be fun, and that's going to make me feel a little bit more redeemed for being kind of a punk. In me being edgy, because that's about as edgy as I get, and in saying that I didn't think that would be worthwhile, and it's so good. I plugged in. It was on Thursday. The Hawks game was on. It hit halftime. I'm like, I'm going to go plug in real quick. And I figured I'd just play with it for 10 minutes, and then come back to watch the third quarter with the family.
Isn't that what we always say?
I made it back like partway into the fourth quarter. I'm like, hey guys, I'm back. And they're like, well, thank you for turning off the amp. We've been trying to listen to the game.
Woo.
Nice. So they were patient with me, and I appreciated it. And I had. You ever plug in a guitar pedal and you start playing? You're like, you just start chuckling at like how cool it is out of the blue.
Have you watched my demos?
Yes. I guess that was I know the answer to the question I'm asking. I guess
you're just asking the listeners, aren't you?
Yes, we'll go with that. Anyways, I had several of those moments just plugged in. I grabbed the Jazzmaster and plugged into the amp. It was just Jazzmaster, a couple pedals into the amp, and just was just having several of those spontaneous, unplanned chuckle moments. It was pretty great.
Yeah, I like
that's my other merch idea is just a shirt that says spontaneous, unplanned chuckle moments. Yeah.
Sure.
It's a little redundant, but I think that's part of the beauty of the shirt. That's my way of saying I'm very open to merch ideas right now. So if you have any ideas for new Get Offset merchandise, hit me up, and I would love to hear what your thoughts are. And I'm like itching to get another shirt out. Something fun, something exciting.
Maybe there's something else we could do with the for Fuzz's sake.
Probably. I thought about giving that design a facelift.
Yeah, it probably needs it. I thought it was fun.
Oh, I agree. I love the shirt, and I wear it all the time. And it's definitely showing its age. But yeah, no, I'm just thinking through ideas, and would want to continue having some fun on the merch side of things.
Nice.
Maybe something borderline outrageous.
Yeah, just get Ryan Burke to wear it. Sell 1 billion of them.
Right. Oh yeah. speaking of selling 1 billion of them, no, I have not sold 1 billion of these shirts. However, I've sold significantly more than I expected, and I have so many emotions about that. I'm like so torn between like, this is so exciting. I'm like mad because I'm like, I don't know.
For the listeners, that's Andrew's shirt. It has a volume pedal on it, and it says, "It is swell with my soul."
I like the shirt quite a bit. I'm a little biased, but it turns out a lot of other people like the shirt as well. And I got to say, there's something really, really humbling about seeing those orders come in and just see photos of people wearing my shirt design just floating around the internet. I'm like, that's super neat to see and really humbling. So I want to say a heartfelt thank you for everyone who's ordered one. I really appreciate you. And you have made this the last couple of months particularly special for me. And I really appreciate that.
Nice. That reminds me that if you're not already a member of our Patreon, Get Offset Patreon, it's patreon.com/getoffset. I'm trying a new thing where every once in a while, everyone in our $10 tiers are up. You automatically get merch. I send you merch. But everyone in the $5 and up level, every once in a while, I will send you something fun. Ooh. If your address is in the Patreon.
Tell us where you live.
I sent one of our patrons who just had a baby a onesie, and I hope that he got it. A Get Offset onesie. I don't know why I thought anybody would ever want to buy those. We've sold 0 of them.
Yep. But we've given away several, and they're very cute.
They're cute. I'm stretching. Oh my god. Because I feel like I need to stretch to talk about the next topic.
Uh-oh.
No. But first, let's thank our sponsors. Our sponsor, DistroKid. DistroKid makes it possible and easy to upload as much music of your own as you want to the internet. That includes iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, Deezer, iHeart stuff in places, with tons of cool features to help you promote your music as well, including their wheel of playlists, their meme generator, tons of really, really, really cool things. It's only $19.99 a year. And I think that plan comes with 2 artist names under which you can release. And if you use the link in the description of the video or the show notes for the podcast, you'll save 7% on your first year, and you'll help support the podcast/YouTube channel. So please check that out. I moved to DistroKid from TuneCore earlier this year. It was easy. It was fast. I'm saving a ton of money, and I'm actually a lot happier with everything from like their reporting to their feature set to their customer support, honestly. That was the end. And also, I just want to shout, they're not an official sponsor, but I do want to shout out Ernie Ball for sending us some strings and things. Andrew's got some too.
I do have. I've got a... this is part of our next series, which is string casing ASMR.
Mm-mm. 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 I also have guitar pick. So yes, thank you to DistroKid.
Yeah, and one more word on sponsors that I'd like to quick throw in there is it's been brought to my attention that so sometimes I do something silly. I want to have some fun, and I say sponsor instead of sponsor. And it's been brought to my attention that people thought I've been talking about dinosaurs this whole time, and so I do want to clarify.
Nobody thought that.
This DistroKid is not a dinosaur. They are in fact a premium business that you should be involved in.
Nobody thought that, Andrew.
I want to get that clarification out there because I could see how damaging that could be. And for deep, heartfelt apology for any confusion that has caused, if any.
Are we talking about Tay-Tay? Is that what we're going to talk about? Do you want to talk about that one first?
I think that would be. Let's follow up with that. I do want to make a quick note here.
All right.
And I think most people know this, but I also think there's a number of people that don't know this. And so just for a PSA, for the sake of just sharing this out there. Good gravy. Goodness, that came out of nowhere. So Guitar Center filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And I've been seeing all kinds of stuff about like, oh, when's the liquidation sale? The fact that you haven't seen a liquidation sale is not nothing. It's actually something. And I have to be the one to tell you it's not happening. And here's why. Is that Chapter 11 bankruptcy does not mean that they're going out of business.
It didn't mean that for Gibson either.
Did not mean that for Gibson. Gibson is still doing all kinds of shenanigans post Chapter 11, which I guess that would make this Chapter 12, which is, I think Chapter 12 is where you're obligated to sue everyone and then just ignore the copyrights that other people hold when you release new stuff. But
trademarks, but not copyrights. But whatever.
Sure. IP. I just like saying IP is just more fun property. For my inner fourth grader. IP. And it's also just easier because I'm terrible at mixing up the just got a message. Anyways, yeah.
So Andrew was about to just stop podcasting and just respond to that message. I saw it.
It's like squirrel. And no, so they're just restructuring their debt. That's all that means. I don't think this is the first time that this has happened for Guitar Center even. And this is relatively normal for larger businesses. Apparently you can just be hundreds of millions of dollars in debt and just, we don't want to pay it anymore. Sorry, guys. Isn't that it's so fine? So that's what they're doing. It's not a huge deal. It's just corporate nonsense. And unfortunately, that means they're not going to be clearing out fenders for pennies on the dollar.
Probably not.
Not likely.
Yeah. But on that note, there was some recent Taylor Swift. This is actually Andrew's idea for the topic. Recent news involving Taylor Swift. Her music had. Okay, so I don't know how you want to even. Should I just kind of like give a refresher on what the hell is happening?
Yes, a refresher on what is going on and why we're even talking about this is important.
Yeah. So when she was very young, Taylor Swift signed a very long record deal with a then new record label called Big Machine. It was founded by former DreamWorks executive Scott Borchetta and became a joint venture between Scott and Toby Keith. So they signed a young sweet baby angel Taylor Swift to their label.
And how old was she at the time?
Oh, she was like 16. She was young.
I think it was even 15.
Yeah. Let me see.
I just want to make sure that like it was clear that she was clearly like, when we say young, we don't mean like 26. We mean like teenager.
Yeah. Keith, goddamn. What am I saying? Toby Keith dropped his affiliation with the label in 2006. But Tim McGraw was the first single by Taylor Swift. So, basically, she signed a very long record deal, which happens a lot with younger performers. I think, like, for example, Kesha was locked into a 6 options cycle. I don't know how many options Taylor Swift had, but Big Machine took them on all of that. And when I say option, so you've heard you've heard of like, oh, I got a 3-album deal with like so-and-so, right? What you get really is an almost guarantee that they'll release 1 album and then you have 2 option periods typically. So that means the label can decide if they want to take advantage of those 2 other options. And if they don't, they drop you. That's how that works. So if you have something that sounds like a 6-album deal, you think, sweet, I get to release 6 albums. Wrong. It means they might release 6 albums, or they might just put you on the shelf and leave you there to rot and die and end your career. You don't really know what's going to happen. And you don't have a lot of leverage because it's a contract. So Taylor Swift, when she was very young, signed this deal with Big Machine, which is now called the house that Taylor built because Taylor built that label. Her success drove that label. And what happens when you sign a record deal, especially when you're very young and desperate to make it, is one of the things that the label takes is possession and ownership of your master recordings. And people are getting this confused right now, as they always do. So the master recording is the released recording of a song or a collection of songs. And the song is something that Taylor, as far as I know, still maintains ownership of. So she gets all of the royalties from like people covering her song. She gets mechanical royalties when people buy the music. She gets sync royalties when her songs are used in movies, even if it's not that original master recording. And Prince went through the same thing in the early 90s. He wanted to regain his master recordings from Warner Brothers because he realized, and this is something that a lot of artists have realized over the years, that there's a lot of money in the master recordings and you should own them. It's your work. It really is your work, or there should be some sort of path to ownership to regain your master recordings. So Taylor Swift was, I think, trying to buy her own master recordings for a while. And then her longtime bully, Scooter Braun, bought them. Scott Borchetta worked with Scooter. Guess he was probably mad at Taylor because Taylor was not going to be a part of his label anymore, is my guess, and sold them to this loathsome person. And Scooter recently, and this is what the part that's in the news, wanted to sell his ownership in her masters. Taylor wanted to buy them, was willing to buy them, but he wanted her to sign a never talk smack about me ever again NDA, which is unheard of and very weird.
And that was before they would talk numbers. She had to sign the NDA before
just to even talk numbers,
just to come to the table.
With no guarantee that she'd even be able to buy her masters. And that was the weird part, I should say. So, someone else bought them, and Taylor was super optimistic to be able to work with them. I think they were optimistic to be able to work with her as well. But Scooter is maintaining some sort of, and I don't remember exactly what it was. He's still going to profit on her masters for the next several years.
Yep, just part of the sales agreement. Worked that in there, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah. So what Taylor's doing is something that Prince said he was going to do and then never ultimately did. Re-record all of her old music, re-release it so she can maintain control of those masters of her songs.
Which I think is admittedly, that's a baller move. Not going to lie.
It's a baller move, but it's an expensive move. It's a move that might not work. Like when Prince re-recorded 1999, he called it the New Masters, and it's just like famously bad. Nobody like his biggest fans don't really like this re-recording of this master, and he kind of abandoned the project because like he was not really an artist who looked back anyway.
Sure.
I'm interested to see how it plays out with Taylor.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see how it plays out for her. I mean, there's so much nostalgia with the original recordings. There's just no getting around that. I think we both grew up when she was becoming popular, and
I mean, she's my age.
Yeah. And she started when she's 15 or 16. And no, I think there's definitely a lot going on there. I'm very excited to see how it turns out. I personally am rooting for her, but this episode isn't a platform for me to stand for Taylor Swift. Can't believe I just said that. I think this is really important to talk about in the sense of like music business and predatory contracts and just how nasty things can get up at the top. And it's not all bedazzled sparkles and champagne.
Well, having those predatory contracts is pretty par for the course in the music industry, especially the country music industry. LeAnn Rimes was famously signed to a similarly bogus kind of record deal. And those options when you're young, like they sound cool, but like don't do it because it's not a guarantee for you. You don't get any extra leverage.
Yep.
All you will get is screwed later. LeAnn Rimes had to release albums and songs that she hated because she needed to fulfill a contractual obligation. There's talks about like Justin Timberlake released a new record recently, probably because he was contractually obligated to do so. This happens a lot. Like Kesha was not allowed for a while to work with other producers, even though she alleges that Dr. Luke sexually assaulted her and certainly was abusive to her. And she was like, they say I can't record with anybody but him. This will end my career. And she's not wrong. It would have ended her career if they hadn't allowed her to work with other producers.
Yep.
But if you, I can't say this enough, buy this book. Buy All You Need to Know About the Music Business. Read this book if you want to learn about how to not get screwed over for record contracts. Yes, it is very normal for record companies to take control of their master recordings, but see if you can negotiate transfer of ownership in several years. Prince was in talks with Warner Brothers to regain ownership through just negotiations, but when he died. Like, this is not unheard of. And just what else?
I mean, it's super important. And I think one of the other lessons to learn from this story is that this is an issue. This is not an issue that Taylor Swift had once she got to the top. This was from the very beginning. That first record deal is what set it up. And so if you're already in the music business, you got a band, you're looking at trying to snag a record deal, this is a cautionary tale that's very relevant to you. This is something that you got to pay attention to, or that could, and if you learn the right lessons from it and use this as a chance to negotiate well, this could be a chance to set yourself up for success in a way that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. And I think that's a big part of the messaging here.
And so I know people are always going to say things like, oh, woe is Taylor. But again, like you said, like this could happen to anybody. Like, yes, she is wildly rich, but does that mean she shouldn't also be able to own her work?
Sure. There's definitely an intrinsic value to just the idea of being able to own your own art. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, sure, she's entirely rich, and I don't necessarily feel like bad. Like I kind of do. Like I empathize, but that sort of falls into the category of first world problems for me because she's got to where she's got.
But she's using her position of influence to create these broader conversations.
Yep.
Things like not refusing to put her music on Spotify or Apple Music until like Apple Music wanted to just not pay musicians and songwriters for using their work for the trial period, because they're like they were like, we're not getting paid for that either. And she was like, no. And Apple balked. They were like, okay, yeah, sure. Whatever we can do to get Taylor Swift on our platform. So she used her position of power and influence, which is what everybody should do. Use your position of power and influence to help people to whom it matters more. Like, would it have mattered a lot if Taylor Swift, like, would she still have been extremely wealthy and famous if she hadn't gotten paid for 3 months of streams? Yeah, absolutely. That doesn't make it right. And that doesn't mean that other people can similarly afford the same luxury.
Exactly. And you're just stealing the words right out of my mouth. That's where I was going with that.
Sorry. I mean, Tom Petty did similar things. Prince did similar things. Like, there have been other musicians, but it's been a while. I feel like it's been a while since other musicians of her caliber have really stood up to the big machine,
right?
And just try to make things more equitable for these power struggles that musicians often find themselves in with the label,
right. And that's where, to add a little bit more of where I was going with that, is the idea of it being just like a hashtag first world problem, and some criticism that she's received for like, look, you already got rich, you got your paycheck, what's your problem? Is like, this isn't an isolated case. This isn't just about her stirring up drama and whatnot. There's so much more going on here.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not intentional. I don't know, Taylor. Be fun to be friends, maybe. I don't know. But I think
I will never be friends with Taylor Swift, even though I would love to be. I'm just going to be realistic about that.
Stranger things have happened. Taylor, if you're listening, be friends with Emily. She's cool. And
she's not listening.
No.
I want to talk about guitars with Taylor Swift really badly.
Right. But there's no, anyways, the impacts of having these conversations, and this feels like almost like a modern take on like, let's crush the big record label machine. So the question I've got for you is, moving forward, like, so she signed this really bad record deal when she was 15, and she's paying for it now. And we know that that's not an isolated case. There's several well-known musicians that are in similar boats. There's several lesser-known musicians that were all in the same boat and ended up just not getting a whole lot of money for their art when all was said and done, when they burned out of the industry. Yes, so reading the book is a really great start, but what do you think are the odds that the culture on this changes, where predatory contracts are less the norm?
I think it's
is that a matter of like education? Is it like educating the proletariat kind of a thing? Or,
well, here's the thing. It's the same way that, like, okay, so how can I put this? This is going to sound really political, but it's the same way that minimum wage works. If the minimum wage is $5.25 an hour, like it was when I was 16, yeah, some businesses are going to pay more than that. But you can't just like expect people to not take the jobs when they need the jobs. Like, it's like you can't expect musicians to not sign predatory record deals because we don't unionize. I mean, there are musicians unions, and please join them if you really want to be a musician. Like Joey from La Neve, who we had on the podcast, he is part of the New Musicians Union of Musicians. And collective bargaining is important because it sets boundaries, because you have to say, if anybody crosses this picket line, if anybody starts to is okay with signing these predatory deals, then the labels know that, okay, so this person's not signing with me, there's 10 people lined up behind you. And so it's about who has the negotiating or bargaining power. An unsigned band is probably not going to have that kind of bargaining power, especially with like a major label or somebody that's distributed by a major label like Big Machine. They probably have more bargaining power with like Donut Sounds, like my record label, which is
right.
We keep our masters and we keep our publishing. Well, that's a very different kind of record deal. But like if JR had said, I'm going to own your masters in perpetuity, even though you brought this finished record to me, we could have bounced and it wouldn't have mattered. We would have found someone else. But basically, unless bigger artists are throwing their weight around in ways that Taylor Swift is trying to or unless something gets like legislated that this is theft, like, or that like this is not okay to do. It's not like there can be a law written that says you can't own someone's masters in perpetuity in the basis of a record deal unless blah 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 blah, unless there's like some sort of path to regaining. Like, I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't see that being the top of mind for any legislator to be like, I'm going to go into office and that's the first thing I'm going to do.
Why not? They tackled steroid use in baseball.
Yeah, I mean,
Joe Biden has, like, I'm pretty sure a plant, like, or like there have been positions on this kind of thing before.
Sure. So
sure they would.
I mean, I could see legislation being a part of it.
I don't think it will be.
I don't think it will be. I think unionization is helpful to a degree.
And I don't think that's going to happen because I think there are enough musicians who are just generally anti-union or are desperate to.
And I don't necessarily.
It's like
there's a lot of baggage that comes with that name. I don't necessarily blame them either. There is. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just saying that there, for a lot of people, that carries a lot of baggage, and there's people who are
people who don't like 40-hour work weeks because they think it's not enough working time.
Sure, but there's also examples of where unionization is not positive. There's no getting around that either.
There's some grifters and there's some bad things about some unions, but
grifters, and then
people have mixed feelings about teachers unions and police unions.
Yep, for good reasons. And so
I'm a big pro teacher union.
My point in saying that is I understand that there's some baggage and it's difficult to get everyone on the same page of like, okay, here's what it is, here's what it's doing, here's what it's not doing. That's a very big ask in terms of education. I mean, we in terms of like mass education on issues like that. I mean, looking at the new Georgia project that Stacey Abrams has been leading, that's a couple of years now and has made a huge change there. But the amount of, just in one state, the amount of effort put into voter education is immense. And that's not an easy task. Fox Cairo's been donating all profits from the Black Lives Matter toppers to the King County NAACP. And one of the things that they focus on is voter education. And I've dug into kind of what they do and what their programs look like, because I wanted to make sure that if I was going to be donating any money, that we go to the right place. And voter education is one of the things that they really focus on. I'm looking at like, that's just a huge ask. And so in the same sense, trying to get all musicians on the same page in terms of a agreement on unions are a good thing for what we have as an industry and as a profession. This is what needs to happen. I don't see that happening in mass.
No, it's not. It's not going to happen in mass. Ultimately, I think it's got to be a matter of big artists saying this is not an acceptable thing to include in your contracts at all to major labels or any label, because not only is music business a business, it's a passion for the musicians. Like, it's this thing that you love. It's like, it's why it's so hard to find a job even in the music business, because like, I knew that if I left my job in Nashville, where I was certainly guilty, like they were certainly guilty of wage theft, among other things, and overworking and abuse, like not like aggressively abusing employees, but like I just recently realized that like they should have been giving me time and a half or flex time for some of the things I did for them, and they didn't, and that's just part of the music business or the entertainment industry. Because if I quit my job, they would have, where I was getting paid $33,000 a year, they would have turned around and found someone who was willing to take $28,000 a year because they wanted to be in the industry so badly. And until you have like wage laws or outlaw like unpaid internships, like that's never going to change, because there's always going to be somebody willing to do it for nothing, because they think that's what you have to do. Right.
So unpaid internships is something else that just gets me completely tilted, but we can get into that another day.
Yeah, I mean,
so
that's question kind of for what you. It is to be a musician.
Something I see that a lot of musicians have done, something that Taylor Swift has done, something this is not uncommon for established musicians at some point to move on from the record label and create their own.
Right.
And a lot of examples I've seen that happen, especially like in the Christian music industry. I think a couple, one I can think of off the top of my head, I want to say is Jars of Clay, is a band that did that. And it's frequently like it's their own record label for themselves, and they just kind of basically like the band is big enough where they can afford to just do all the things a record label does just independently for themselves for their own band. What about larger artists creating a record label and just saying, you know, we're actually going to be the good guys here. We've got the funding, we've got the clout in the industry. We can make this happen. Do you think that's something that could be a possibility?
That does happen. Prince did that.
Okay.
Yeah, Prince had his Prince actually had an imprint on Warner Brothers from the beginning of his career almost. That was part of the stipulation of his contract, as he wanted to have his Paisley Park imprint so he could sign whoever he wanted. Sure. He was also a hard and tough business person, and you can say similar things about people like Buck Owens who dipped their toe into the industry. Ani DeFranco has always had her own record label, Righteous Babe. Madonna had her own record label that was part of an imprint. I think that was called Maverick Records. I forget who that was on. And even smaller artists. I think Sadie Dupuis has an imprint. She definitely has her own like poetry publishing. A lot of artists do this, and it is a lot of work, and you have to hire people. Right. I can imagine Taylor Swift doing something like that. I think even Lydia Lovelace is doing her own record label.
But I guess, so I'm hearing all these names.
But making it majors, you can't compete with the majors because they have $1 billion in funding.
Right. And that's where I'm like, I'd love to see more of that, but I don't know if I could see like some of the larger labels getting toppled down. Just
distribution's the hard thing, honestly.
How much money is involved. I guess another thought is one of the musicians turned business people that I thought about was Jay-Z, Beyonce with Tidal.
100%.
Is being part of that world of like, hey, we don't have to put up with what the other companies are doing. We want to do this right, or at least more right, in a way that honors the work of musicians. And
yeah, they do pay at least twice as much as Spotify does for their streams. And it's just going to show you can pay twice as much and still be successful enough. I don't know if Tidal makes money, to be honest.
And they might not.
And they definitely have done some strong arm stuff to get like exclusives, and that's kind of been in question, or like I think they sued the Prince. I know I keep talking about the Prince stuff, but I think they might have sued the Prince estate, or the Prince estate sued them because Tidal was the only place you could stream Prince's music. Yep. And I think that Tidal got upset when it got moved to Spotify and other places as well, because I think that they might have had some sort of handshake exclusivity deal with Prince himself. But I don't know.
Anyways, that's what I've got for the episode. I think that was a really great discussion. And to tie it all up in a nice, neat bow. Buy the book, Get Smart in Business. If you are in the music industry, if you're in a band, if you're looking at signing a label, there is so much more behind the curtain, and it's not necessarily fun stuff. Get educated.
If you get a contract, talk to a lawyer.
Sure.
Have them explain to you exactly what each thing means. Yeah. Don't sell your publishing. And I just want to say this one more time. This is not about Taylor Swift's publishing. That's a whole other can of worms that we can talk about. I think she retains control of at least the artist share of her publishing, which is important.
Sure.
Different publishing masters. Record of the year is where the masters falls. It's a recording. Song of the year is the writing. That's the songwriting. Publishing a song of the year. Record of the year is mastering.
Yep. So, anywho, all that said, thank you for watching.
Thanks for listening.
My name is Andrew. Oh, yeah. My name is Andrew.
His name is Andrew.
My name is Emily. Yep.
My name is Emily.
All right. Bye.
Bye.